The mast is safely on the deck. The actual repair can start. The first thing to do is to remove the rotten wood. Some of it was removed by hand when the mast was erect, and there is still some more. The scary part then is to dig with a tool. That will reveal how much wood that is actually damaged. All the time I find new areas when prodding with the tool. I must find all the rotten areas. Luckily, most rot seems to be on the outside part of the mast. The rot extends both above and below the spread. Finally, I used the jigsaw to make a straight cut where the new wood shall fit. The cut must be through healthy wood with the new wood to glue on. Now is the funny part with the not so very much funny, but the difficult part of the restoration of this mast. I cut out for one button which shall fit into the mast on both ends, and I have made this button that is supposed to fit exactly into the place. Now, if it had been my son the carpenter who had made this, I would have put this into, and it would click, and you wouldn't see the difference here. It would be quite smooth. But I am no carpenter, and I am not in my workshop. It's very difficult to do this correctly, but I have one advantage. I have epoxy, and I have lots of epoxy. If things doesn't fit, I can just apply lots of epoxy. We don't glue it, we don't cut it like this and glue it together. That wouldn't hold much. We have to make fingers like this. The angle here is so that you have 8 times as much in this direction as in this. Now it's the same procedure over and over again. Cut out a hole with straight sides in the mast, make a piece of batten to fit and glue it on. The spread and the iron ring makes it all a bit more complicated as I cannot remove them, but not impossible. A very satisfying job as the mast gets to be as strong as a new one. The final finish is done with angle grinding with coarse sandpaper. A boat builder would have sanded for hours with fine-grained paper until the surface was smooth and perfect. I stop after the angle grinder. It makes life more agreeable. The final task is to make and mount a ring of wood under the iron ring so it won't be pulled down. Varnishing the first layer is always a pleasure. The result is okay, not great, not perfect, but okay. The mast will keep longer than me. there was some indication of rot on the lower part of the mast as well. It proved to be a little bit more than expected, but okay. As you can see, I have not closed this gap yet. I just removed everything and I made the buttons that go into here to fill it. But I keep it this way for two reasons. First, I had to dry it as much as possible. There was still water in this part, so I want to stop the rot that might happen here. Also, it would be nice to have access to this hole afterwards to get the wires correctly laid. This is the critical day then. Now the mast is going to go up if everything goes as planned. I have two ropes connected to it. This one is supposed to lift it, and this one should secure it afterwards. So I have to lift a bit and then tighten this one and then lift a bit more. When hoisting the mast, we got a little problem because we have put a small contraption here to that's a hole through the deck, and it leads the electrical wiring through the mast and down here, but it's built up so the water won't run down the deck. The problem is when we lift the mast using this rope up to the main mast, we only got this far, and if we hoist the mast using this rope again further, then the mast will stand here, and it's pretty difficult to get it up and over that one without doing some damage. So the solution is, as the first one we hoisted with this rope, we have to do it a little further so that it comes up in the air, and then secure it with the ropes so it won't go all the way down. And then when we lift it using the rope here, we can get it like this. Then it's hovering over this contraption, and we can just lower it down using the rope. That is the plan. Let's see if it works. The mast started up nicely. With the block at the masthead, the load on the rope should only be 50 kilos, so the anchor winch had no problems. Just past the spread, the lantern got tangled and I have to go up to fix it. The lifting proceeds nicely from there, but the winch is obviously working harder as the mast is rising. That is expected, as the load will double when the mast is raised above deck, but it seems to me that the load is way past what I expected. Nils, my neighbor Yoti, is watching my operation from his boat. At this point he notes that my mast is bending ominously. He's afraid my main mast will break as it is lifting the mizzen. I know nothing of this. I go aft again to check if anything is stuck, but cannot find anything, so I proceed lifting. Now the winch is really straining. I estimate the load to be more than 1 ton, far above the weight of the mast. I go aft again. Now I can see that the mast has been lifted high enough above the deck that I can secure it to the pulpit with the ropes. The hard part is over. From now on I will hold the mast up by the ropes going aft. It's heavy and slow, but finally the mast is where it is supposed to be. The main mast didn't break, but I will never know how close I was to disaster. Now the mast is completed. It's erect and it's mended. On the lower part I used the first battens I got. That wasn't strong enough. But I figured they were strong enough for this part because it's not very critical. It's no bending here, it's just pressure. This is the silver belly, the material for the first batten, and it's not very pretty. But okay, this is pine, it's much more pretty. Okay, now you've seen it all. If you think you could do this better than me, you are probably right. But I must emphasize this. There's one thing, or one area I excel, and you should never try to beat me. That is my ability to tolerate epoxy. These hands have been through epoxy for 30 years and had no allergic reaction. Don't try to beat that. Use gloves. I hate gloves. Thank you for watching.